everyone. We are here to talk about first foods, starting solids, and mama baby bio method, which are two of my courses and some of the ways in which I help people to get the results they're seeking. I was just a little late getting my kids settled, and now I'm trying to find a good place to work, but the light's a little weird. So here we are. I hope you had a great Christmas. I did. I'm still enjoying my holiday, the days after Christmas leading up into the new year, and it's been really nice and relaxing. So if you have any questions for me, you can put them in the chat. And I know that I have a lot of new followers here, and I'm so excited that you guys are all here. And I'm going to start just by talking a little bit about my training and my education and how that has gotten me to this platform and everything that I teach here. So I got a BFA in dance. That was where I started. I started working a lot with like dance and community settings. And so I've always worked in the healing capacity with people. And I got a BFA in Florida at the University of Florida. And then I went on to I started working as a private chef after a short stint of professional dance. And that was interesting because I was not a professionally trained chef. I think it was like a karmic connection that I had, a karmic agreement, a contract that I needed to fulfill with this person. So I worked for one family for 5 years as their private chef, where I taught myself how to cook gourmet food and shop at the farmer's market. I had a farmer who took me under her wing, and I originally met her because I was trading her my time for her meat. And it was amazing because she really just shepherded me in a beautiful way and mentored me and taught me a lot about farm and farmer's market. My husband actually he was my boyfriend at the time, but he went on to work for her, and then he became a butcher. So my husband's also a nutritional therapy practitioner, and he works for Wild Nutritionist, and he runs all the back end, builds my websites and that kind of thing. And he also has a background in nutrition and behavioral analysis. He worked with children with autism, and he's also a regenerative butcher. So we have quite the overlap in our loves. But after I was a private chef, or during private chef job, I went to nutritional therapy school, and then I became a GAPS practitioner. And after that, I got married and had my baby, and I had a C-section birth of my son, and that really changed the way that I started to talk about nutrition, because I really directed it towards babies. And when I started talking about it, there was not a lot of people on here talking about babies and the microbiome and starting solids, and I really pioneered that. And I'm bringing all this up, my credentials and where I came from, in order to present this here, because I have been getting a lot of questions about other courses. I actually get quite a few questions about other courses in comparison to mine, and I've never bought them. I don't even follow other influencers here that do starting solids content, because it's distracting for me and it takes away my creative mojo. So everything that I create here is by my own self, my mind, my heart, my body. And I don't like to even accidentally see other people's ideas, because it just becomes this like amalgamation of things. And, it's very easy to even accidentally take someone else's idea. So for me, it's better to just mute people that do things similar to me, and I just don't look at them. And I can't say that's the same for other people with my content, because I don't know. But you can feel it when an idea is just regurgitated rather than embodied. And so something that I really try to do here is really present an embodied perspective, and a perspective that I'm not just bringing to you because I put it into ChatGPT, more so because I've lived it in my experience and in my body, and that's really important to me. And the other thing about my work and my courses that I think is really important to say is that there's a lot of clinical context. So, for example, when I graduated from my GAPS training, the GAPS practitioner training, I did not feel ready to take on difficult client cases at all. So I hired mentors. Like, I asked people who I was like, wow, they're doing amazing things in the world. They have so much knowledge. Will you please mentor me? And it took several years of mentorship in order to really understand the concepts. And then more years on top of that of working with intense client cases. And so that's where the course material comes from. The course material comes from the experience with the clients, my experience as a private chef, my experience as a GAPS practitioner, my experience as a nutritional therapist, and even my experience as a dancer and working with dance healing, working with children who are incarcerated, and, you know, working in the hospital at the bedside. Like, all of these experiences have funneled into the work that I've innovated here, which is the Wild Nutritionist Program's Mama Baby Biome. That's a concept and a literal entity of your family. That's the shared microbiome of the mother and the baby. And it has a lot to do with your gut health, your nervous system, your lifestyle every single day, all the things that you your input into your family's health is ultimately going to be your input into your family's health, your input into your family's life is ultimately going to be the output, you know? So I like to say we live our priorities every single day. I live my priorities every single day. I practice what I preach. I raise my children this way, and I share it here because I feel it has been so life-changing for me, and it can really be life-changing for others. So I just wanted to address that because it's the end of the year, and I get messages all the time, just asking about other, actually it's kind of a weird question because, like, I don't know, I can't compare, but I also I've heard, feedback about other courses, and I can say that I build my courses with integrity. I always try to make improvements to them. I always listen to the feedbacks of the mothers. I have live components to my courses. I always give my upgraded material to my students, and I engage with my students in a way that helps them to get results from the perspective where they're empowered and making their own knowledgeable, embodied choices because they've been educated through the material. And, like, also, I want people to get results. Like, I want this to be like the thing that you do and you don't do anything else because it works, and it's a proven method. It's a proven system. And I feel like it deserves to be out in the world for people to know about it. The research and the implications of using a gut rebuilding protocol that comes from the GAPS lineage is so profound. And so to translate that more deeply for babies is something that I'm really passionate about. And that, honestly, I was like, people are afraid to touch it. Like, when I started talking about this, there was a select few accounts that were also talking about baby food and starting babies on solid ancestrally and that kind of thing. Of course, there's the lineage of the wise traditions way of starting solids, and I have deep respect for Sally Fallon and what the wise traditions has done just generally. But all in all, like, when a baby has a lot of symptoms, people are really afraid to make moves. And it's understandable because how do we treat pregnant mothers? Like, we treat them like they, can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, can't do that. And I feel like, well, actually they're not so fragile, like there's we want to build the resilience, and we also want to know that, like, we don't have to tiptoe around things that are scary because of, like, just the FDA and all, rules that are, I guess, ultimately made to keep people safe, but also keep people sick, if that makes sense. And so when it comes to helping babies, like, I did it with my own child first. And so that gave me a lot of confidence and a lot of understanding about how long the process takes. And then seeing client after client after client and helping them to work through these really intense things, it's just created a body of work, which is really robust and deep. And so, that comes through in the courses and what I teach. So yeah, I'm building a framework for you to make decisions within yourself. And it's not just like a willy-nilly thing. It's not just like, oh yeah, this is like, it might work, it's a proven method that works. And each person within that system, finds their own way through it, because everybody's different. So that's my little intro. Welcome here if you're new. I'm so glad you're new. I'm so glad you're here, and everybody finds their way to healing when they find it. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, and then I'll break down the differences between my two courses and answer the questions as we go. Hey, M from the UK. Let's see, questions. Dear sister. Thank you, Ev, John, Matthew. Okay, here we go. Great question. M. Jones, bone broth or meat broth for a drink? How much does a 6 to 7 month old need? So this is interesting because there's like a whole culinary lineage to the difference between meat stock and bone broth. And as we all know, bone broth has really become commercialized. And when you pasteurize bone broth, it dissolves the gelatin and the health benefits of the gelatin and the collagen. That's why when you dump out your bone broth that's been pasteurized, it's shelf stable in like a Tetra Pak on the counter, on the shelf in the store, it's going to be like pure liquid when you pour it out. When you buy something frozen that's like a smaller operation and it thaws and it's like a little bit of jelly, that's a better option for you, but you don't know how long it's been cooked for. What I teach is not bone broth, it is meat stock. And the meat stock versus bone broth, for my purposes, comes from the GAPS Nutritional Protocol lineage. And in the GAPS Nutritional Protocol, we call meat stock, which is essentially a stock that is made from a piece of meat with a joint in it. So like a wing, a rib, a shank, a tail, a foot, a neck. All of those collagenous pieces get broken down into what we call a meat stock. And it essentially is a shorter cook time, and it can be clear, it can be cloudy. And when you put it in the fridge, it gels. It doesn't have to be fully solid. It can be any little bit of gel is good. So that is what we start. For a 6 or a 7 month old, you would want to start with just a small amount, a teaspoon for the day, to see how your baby responds to this. And you make it plain. So you would make it with just meat and water. And I have a free meat stock guide in my bio. If you want to check that out, you can. It's great. We drink meat stock every single day because we love it. And I also have a post pinned to my page, which is called Meat Stock Lattes. And you can check out how we make meat stock lattes. And then once you get past that initial phase of like, oh, my baby does really well on this and my baby seems to be tolerating it just fine, then you can move up to much more. Now, some babies, they don't tolerate it really well initially. They have gas, they have discomfort, and that can either mean switching to another meat, that can mean giving less, that can mean moving on for a period of time with the quantity and just giving small licks throughout the day. So we do really want to get them tolerating meat stock in small amounts, and there's lots of strategies for this to happen. And meat stock is the foundation, really, for all of the healing that your family is going to do. And it's a foundation piece for everything that I teach here. Can I give my 9-month-old baby sardines every day? Yes, you can. Next question. Could you please say what to do for itching with eczema? Like what food may help itching? Yeah, so itching is one of the hardest ones. A lot of people struggle with this. It's very hard to watch our children. Let me see if I can do this. That's better. It's really hard to watch our children itch, right? Because they are visibly uncomfortable, and sometimes the itching can exacerbate the symptoms and make the eczema like harder to heal because it will bleed or scab or something like that. So if you're on a healing protocol and the itching is happening more, that is actually a good sign. It's a sign of healing. Have you ever had that experience where you have a scar and then the scar itches? Healing is a bit itchy. So we want to definitely bring the inflammation down. I would bring out all the yeast feeders. So you want to remove anything starchy, sugary, anything like acidic, like coffee or chocolate, which wouldn't necessarily be directly what a baby's eating. But if a mother's eating coffee or chocolate, those are yeast feeders. Nuts as well are yeast feeders. So you want to remove all of those foods. And we don't really need those foods to heal, right? We don't need starch. We don't need sugar. We don't need chocolate or coffee to heal, or nuts. We need building foods. And so what I teach moms to do is to rebuild the gut tissue, rebuild the gut lining. And this is remarkable because we have a regenerative cycle in our body, and our cells, they regenerate and they build new tissue. And so when we put the input of really high quality meat stock, which has a collagen component and a gelatin and all these other amino acids, we can actually rebuild our tissues. And the rebuilding of our tissues is what allows us to have clear skin, to heal up a rash or to heal up eczema or digestive issues or any sort of organ system that's not functioning well, we can have with enough time and the right ingredients that are going into the body, we can really, really heal. And so for babies that are itching a lot, I definitely get really clear on the diet. And I teach exactly what to do to heal eczema in my first foods plan and in Mom Baby Biome. And you can also work from the outside in and the inside out. So the food would be the inside out part, right? We're rebuilding the tissue. We're supporting the microbes. We're bringing in more beneficial microbes to help your body heal microbially. And then we're also working on digestion. So we're assimilating and digesting foods better because the meat stock is so soothing and it's helping strengthen digestion. And from there, you want to also support the liver. So anytime the skin stuff is coming up or prevalent, you want to support the liver. Why? Because the liver is an organ of digestion, but we might all really know it more as an organ of detoxification. It works in both systems. The liver's job is it stores nutrients that help us to clear out. We have multiple pathways for detoxing. And this can be toxins that are coming in from the outside, like we have a polluted world, but it can also be toxins which are made within the gut. And a lot of times when there's eczema present, there's yeast overgrowth. And yeast overgrowth is crazy because, yes, we've studied candida. We know about candida. That's what everybody thinks of when we talk about yeast, but we actually have over 50 strains of yeast, and they can off-gas. Each of those strains can off-gas multiple toxins. And then the liver has to deal with those toxins. So it's really putting together this puzzle piece because we want to support digestion. We want digestion to be effective so that waste can leave the body effectively. If that's not happening properly, it's going to come out through the skin. If there's an overburden on the liver, it's going to come out through the skin. And that can be because there's microbes that are disorganized and dysfunctional in the body, and that is why it's coming out through the skin. And so we're going to work to heal digestion, then we're going to support the liver and open up the detox pathways, and then we're going to also support the nervous system. And one of the best ways we can support the nervous system is to support the hormones. And one of the best ways we can support the hormones is to get our natural light every single day, right? So you want to get outside in the sunshine every single day. A bare butt, a bare baby, bare naked baby out there is the best for eczema. And then that's going to help you also with your skin microbiome, make your skin healthier, stronger. We talked about healing from the inside out and the outside in. And so you can also put probiotic paste topically on the skin. You put lots of skin food, tallow, emu oil, any animal fat, olive oil on the skin kind of constantly mixed with a little bit of probiotics is going to be great to rebuild that sebum. Interestingly, the way that the body heals, we don't just have one priority, right? Like the body has many priorities, but it can't get them all done at one time. And so it creates like a hierarchy, and the skin is usually not the top hierarchy. It's not the top, the brain is protected, the heart is protected. We have blood sugar as a priority of the body. We have these other priorities that come before healing the skin. And so sometimes the skin is the last thing to catch up. And what I often see with babies is like they're constipated, so it's exacerbating the eczema. We get the constipation, we get the poop moving, they're pooping every day, and then their liver's less burdened and the skin starts to calm down. Right? So there's many, many elements to this. And even when working with a healing food, a lot of times moms will say, I added in a healing food and like it made everything worse, right? So that's just what we can see with our eyes. And I want you to trust what you can see with your eyes. I want you to observe, but I don't want you to only observe the skin. I want you to observe your baby's mood. I want you to observe your baby's poop. I want you to observe your baby's skin. I want you to observe your baby's digestion. I want you to observe, how tired are they? How's their sleep? Let's look at this as a bigger picture and see when I added that healing food, one thing got better, but another thing got worse, okay? And typically when that happens, if it's not too stressful, I encourage moms to keep going and to keep increasing the healing foods slowly, because we're not just trying to heal the skin. We're actually trying to heal the whole body. And the fact that the skin is showing us that there's a problem means that there's other problems too. And so we trust the body, we trust the healing foods, and we let the body heal in its own time in the layers that it chooses, right? We can't control everything. And I don't teach moms to micromanage health. I teach moms to look at this picture objectively, to use a framework and to live in that framework for a period of time so that they can see what changes, and lots is going to change. That's why a lot of moms come to me with allergies, and I work a lot with like egg allergies, dairy allergies, intolerances. Honestly, I didn't even care that much about this particular topic, but I was so frustrated by people's like lack of just hope within this field, I guess. Like, I was like, why? This doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense when it comes to gut healing. Like, people don't understand that you don't have to be allergic to something forever. People are going on elimination diets, but they're not doing the aspect of the rebuilding and the healing. And so I just kind of started talking about it that way. And then I got all these clients coming in, like healing their dairy allergies, healing their egg allergies, able to tolerate these foods. And it's like, yes, because when you put certain systems into place and you rebuild the gut, that's rebuilding the immune system and how our body responds to foods. You're digesting foods better, you're getting higher quality foods in, you've changed the microbiome, the microbiome's interacting in a different way, and then you can tolerate foods. It's like, why is it all of a sudden so prevalent that all these kids are having all these allergies when 25 years ago, yeah, it was around, but it wasn't the way that it is now? Like, we can't just think that that's just like because, there has to be a reason for things. And I always think that there is a reason. I don't always have to know exactly why, but I like to understand logically what things I can put into place to make it better. And so when it comes to helping parents resolve food sensitivities and allergies, it's really all about the gut as well. And they're often overlapping. Kids are coming to me with constipation, mucus in their stools, reflux, eczema, right? All those things are compounded. And that's because we don't have a separate system. But people are used to looking at things from a separate system because that's how our medical system is set up. Like, you have a stomach thing, you go to a stomach doctor. You have a skin thing, you go to a dermatologist. And it's like, we really all just need to get our food together and clean up our bodies and our immediate environment, and so much changes, right? Okay. It's a histamine sensitivity, so try to feed food that doesn't have high in histamine. All right, great. Donut enters asking about histamines. This is another really great topic. So histamines are naturally occurring substances in the body. They're neurotransmitters, and we need them. But since 2020, a lot more people have been having histamine issues because of what happened in 2020. And the thing is, histamines are never the only problem, but if the histamines are forward facing and the things that's screaming at you, you really need to bring down inflammation. It points right back to the gut, and pretty much everything I said applies here. We want to support the liver, because if the liver cannot help the body process and metabolize histamines, or you're overproducing histamines, then that's a gut flora issue. And if the liver can't deal with them, then that's a liver issue. So what do we go right back to? We go back to digestion, we go back to the microbiome, and we go back to the liver. So kefir is a low histamine ferment. That's actually the gold standard. Most people won't start there, but in both of my courses, I have histamine protocols that are relevant to total gut healing, because sometimes, yes, there is a histamine issue that needs to be, have attention initially, but it's absolutely something that can be healed within the same framework, within the same methodology. It has to do with, bringing down inflammation in the body. So get out those yeast feeders. It's not just ever histamines that you're dealing with, but like I said, you can go about it from a histamine forward process. A lot of foods that you hear in the zeitgeist that are high histamine are actually lower in histamines and can help resolve it. Something like meat stock is very different than bone broth. It's extremely important for healing. But when you are having a histamine reaction, you might need to start with like a literal finger lick on your tongue and do that for a period of time where it feels like, okay, nothing's actually happening here, but on the level, you actually are starting to do some gut repair that you're not even noticing. And then after a period of time, you can increase the amount of meat stock that you're having. The light's really crazy. You can increase the amount of meat stock that you're having, and that ultimately will put you on the path to gut healing. And same with the kefir. So kefir, like I said, gold standard for both eczema and histamine intolerance, and you have to go really slow. But once you start tolerating a little bit, you increase your tolerance over time, and you're doing so well. And like, moms might be like, oh, well, I have CMPI, so that's built in there too. Right. So you just, you go back with goat products, you go back with camel products, right? It's like you just keep turning the wheel and finding the food that you can tolerate, the nourishing food that you can tolerate that is not only being tolerated, but while you're ingesting it, it's healing your body, right? So I'm not just looking for like, oh yay, I can like tolerate this list of foods. If you can tolerate a list of foods, but it's not a healing food, you shouldn't be eating it, because guess what? You can't tolerate other healing foods that are way more important and way more essential for your baby's brain and immune system. So that food's therefore not not important. Okay. Sorry, I just could not handle I was getting a shadow mustache. Okay. What other questions do you all have? All right, here we go. Ingeb's Matt. My son has a little bit of eczema on his shoulder. What should I do? I give a lot of meat stock and bone marrow. That's wonderful. I would support the liver. I would increase beet kvass. Beet kvass is really important. And beet kvass is a liver tonic, and it breaks up stones, so it can clear toxins really good. And I would also do detox baths, increase his magnesium through a bath with dead sea salt flakes. And then you can make a little, kefir would be great on the patch. If you're not to dairy yet, then I would work on getting to dairy. And when I talk about dairy, I'm not just talking about dairy milk from the grocery store. I'm talking about extremely high quality grass-fed and finished milk that you ferment at home into yogurt and kefir. My son is 6 years old and has a lot of rashes on his belly. He has some autoimmune ITP and kind of chronic diarrhea. Could your method help him? Yes, that is perfect. You need Mom and Baby Biome. So the First Foods Plan and Mom Baby Biome have conceptual overlap. The gut rebuilding protocols taught in those courses are similar, but they are directed to different age groups. So Mom and Baby Biome, like I said, it's a concept and it is a literal entity of your family. The mother and the baby share a microbiome and they share health. And this is about this is about helping your child and the whole family heal. That's what we do in Mom Baby Biome through food, through a gut rebuilding protocol. So for this mom is asking about rashes, autoimmune, and chronic diarrhea. That's a perfect reason to put your child on a gut rebuilding protocol. As you can see, she has overlapping symptoms, and the autoimmune condition points back to gut health. The diarrhea obviously is related to the gut health, and the rashes are also related to the digestion. So it's really cool how it's foundational, right? The digestion is the foundation of our health. We have 5 foundations, and I teach digestion, blood sugar, mineral balance, fatty acids, and hydration. All 5 of those are going to be the foundational pieces that we look at. And then within digestion, we'll look at that system. So with the skin rashes, we would definitely want to be supporting his liver. We would want to be soothing his gut because he has the diarrhea, help him firm up the stools and have normal poops. And those things are going to come ahead of the autoimmune symptoms being reversed, but those can also be reversed, especially in a 6-year-old. I would be really wanting to dedicate some time, a year or so to rebuilding the gut and seeing what happens when I change the foods and the environment that my baby or my child is in. And then the Starting Solids plan is specifically for the window of starting solids. It's a 12-week plan on how to get your baby on gut-building foods. It's perfect for anyone starting solids, any baby that's been on formula, antibiotics, had a medicalized birth, had a surgical birth. But it can also be for moms who are just really wanting to understand more about how to build your child's gut and really get a framework and a frame of mind for how you want to feed your child moving forward, which is really, really cool. And then, of course, it helps babies with digestive issues, allergies, eczema, mucus in the stools, reflux, failure to thrive. All of those things come back to how well we can digest and assimilate our food, and that is what I teach you inside of the First Foods Plan. So Mom and Baby Biome method is whole family gut healing protocol for mothers and children, and First Foods Plan is specific to babies who are starting solids and really from 4 months old to 1 year old. Or if your baby has a special circumstance and they're 2 years old and they're on a formula, then the First Foods Plan can work for you too. But that course really is focused on the time of starting solids, whereas Mom and Baby Biome is a much more broad course. It goes deeper into the detox protocols. It goes deeper into the why behind it. It's more comprehensive with the cooking, although both courses have a lot of cooking demos. But in Mom Baby Biome, the focus is really on how do I make this an integrative piece for my whole family? What kind of foods do I need to prepare so that we can all eat this way as a family? And First Foods Plan is start solids for your baby, the gut health way, resolve symptoms now. And most people pair them together. So Mom Baby Biome was the first course that I ever made postpartum. Made a lot of courses before that, but postpartum, I made that course for myself to heal from birth, all the tools that I use to heal from a surgical birth, and to integrate these concepts for the family. And then I had a lot of moms who were also in that postpartum phase but had older children, and so I created lessons around that, and then I made the first foods plan after I made Mom Baby Biome specifically just about starting solids. Okay, Teresa from the block, she says, we'll be starting solids for my baby within the month, and your account has been an amazing resource. Can you touch upon how much food you can start with? Yes, hey Teresa, so you're going to just start slow. When you're first starting solids, your breast milk is the main source of nutrition for your kid. But I'm not so much taking this as far as like food before one is just for fun, because I actually think food before one is for brain development and immune system development and gut building. So I think it's really, really important, the choices that we make. I don't think food is just for playing with. I think food is for sustenance and nourishment. So when it comes to how much your baby eats, this is really something that you can follow observationally with your child. And this is something that I really want parents to know when they graduate from my courses or when they leave my Instagram page. I want them to be like, I feel confident to trust my own instincts and like, listen. It's a bi-directional relationship when we're feeding baby. Like, feeding time is bonding time, right? So you are creating their relationship to food and nourishing them as you feed them. So if your baby wants more, it's great to give them more. If your baby says they're done, it's great to let them be done. Now, if you know in that case of my baby's done right now, that they actually need more for their nourishment, and this is why I teach the mama baby biome, because mother and baby are one, and you might have an instinct that's like, I know they need to eat more, but they're not eating more. So that just means persistence in a way that is calm, connected, low stress, right? So if my baby was done eating, they wanted to get down from the high chair or my lap, I would let them down. But if I knew they needed to eat more, I'd be following them around, with the cup, with the straw, with the finger licks, getting them to acclimate to eating more of this healing food. And that is something that I would not know if I did not learn it through my own body. We all have those moments where it's like, I really don't want to eat that, but I know I need to. And that is oftentimes what happens when children are healing. Sometimes I remember this incident with my son. He was just like desperate on the floor, crying, tantruming, gone too long without eating, really hungry, not feeling good in his body, but desperately needing the nutrients. And it just was this game of like patience and love and care and saying like, I got you, buddy. I know that you're struggling right now, and I'm going to help you. Like, obviously respecting his boundaries, not crossing them, but like in a way that's like, I'm the mom and I know what you need and I'm going to help you get there. So it's just like, and it's crazy because once that thing clicks over where they actually get that little bit of nourishment that kicks them over, they're like, oh my God, my body is actually so hungry and I'm going to just chow here and sit for 45 minutes. So that's the kind of like patience it takes sometimes. And then other times it'll just be like, okay, they're showing me they're not hungry. I'm letting this go for now. I'm just going to move on. We're going to go do another activity. I'm going to move on. And then in 45 minutes, I'm going to bring out the meat stock again and we're all going to have some. And like, that's that, right? So just to be like a little bit more direct about your specific question, you want to give a small amount to start just to like check in with how they're tolerated, not overwhelm their system. And then once they show you that they tolerate it well, they're doing good, they're making improvements, you just can give them as much as they want, like liver, butter, steak, meat stock, sauerkraut brine. Babies know how much they need. They're amazingly intuitive eaters, and we don't need to interrupt that. We can just support them with the healing food options. Okay. You corrected and said belly, but not belly, but body. Yeah, it still applies there. Will it replace a feed? Good question. So when I first started, like it was small enough that it wasn't replacing a feeding. So I always teach to give a little bit of meat stock before breast milk because meat stock is really good in healing, but it doesn't replace breast milk. And really the formula I do teach a formula replacement, which has a meat stock base, but that's for babies who are weaning off of formula. So breast milk is they're sort of different tracks. But if your baby is nursing and you're starting to introduce meat stock, think about that like you're just acclimating them to the taste. And after a week or so, if they're like, I really like it, I really want more, you can give more. But it doesn't replace a feed right away. And then for me, it was like super intuitive and natural as we just started to like, I wanted them to eat more food too. Like I was like not tired of nursing, but tired from nursing. And so that changed my relationship to what they were eating and how much they were eating. And I encouraged them to eat more. And I gave them more nutrient-dense foods because they're not filler foods. It's not like I'm like, here, just eat this like rice or whatever to just get full on empty calories. It's like, no, I'm giving their body usable building blocks that their brain and their gut and their lungs and their heart really, really need. And that makes a huge difference in how they feel and how they act day to day. All right. Let's see. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes. And Huen Tiffany says, my daughter has severe facial eczema and some red eczema on her neck. Nowhere else. Do you reckon plain meat stock? I'm worried about allergens. She's allergic to wheat, dairy, and eggs. She's 9 months old. Okay. This is perfect. So it's a great example of someone who needs the first foods plan. If she is breastfed, I would also recommend Mom Baby Biome for you. But the first foods plan is going to teach you how to, first of all, no wheat. She doesn't need any wheat. Dairy and egg are very specific. And so first you're going to go with meat stock. You're going to go with liver. You're going to get with the pureed meats, the skin, all the things that I teach in the course, the brine. And then you can circle back to doing dairy and egg. And yeah, plain meat stock. I wouldn't do plain for a 9-month-old. I would definitely add sea salt because it's going to taste way better and it's going to help it cook really good. And the minerals from the salt are going to help her too. So the first foods plan is perfect for you. All right. Oni Pony 66. Baby was on formula. Now is 1 year old. Is eating solids but looking for a liquid to give instead of milk. Have made the jiggly meat stock. Should I add water and a couple scoops to a bottle? Okay. So, baby was on formula. Should I add water? You don't need to dilute it. You got the jiggly gel. That's amazing. And then you can put the meat stock warmed in a bottle or a sippy cup and let them drink it, or just an open cup. That's a great way to do it. For the milk, I would start working your way to kefir. That's going to be way better. When the meat stock forms the gel, this is from Miriam, do I warm it to liquid or get the child to take the gel directly? So you can warm it or you can give it cold. Either way has the benefits. If your child is sick at all or has like sniffles or anything like that, always go for warm. Warm is even better, easy to digest. Warm is very soothing to the digestive system, but the gel is okay for them to eat too. And they love it. A lot of babies love to eat the cold jelly. My son did. With the meat stock, should you stick to beef and chicken separately? I do. I make them in separate pots because beef meat stock takes like 6 hours and chicken meat stock only takes 2. How important is the vegetable juice in the GAPS protocol? So the vegetable juice is going to be something that is used based on symptoms. So for example, I didn't really emphasize the vegetable juice that much because it was hard to make, and when I first started solids, I didn't emphasize that much because it was hard to make basically. And I wanted to focus on like warm building foods more, but like depending on where your baby's at, I mean, fresh pressed kidney juice, it's very fresh pressed cucumber juice is very hydrating, can be very good for the kidneys. And so if you're seeing like kidney symptoms or signs that you need to do kidney support, then it can be really great. If your baby has constipation, it's one of the things that I go to right away. So we use the vegetable juice, the fresh pressed vegetable juice, for the enzymatic properties and for the fresh vitamins. So it has to be fresh pressed, which is part of the reason why I didn't use it as much. But that said, I didn't use it as much on the daily when starting solids for my son. But when we got him to like over a year and like we were both on the protocol, I utilized, like I would make juicing a part of our day, if we were sick, or like when my kids had this crazy skin fungus, I used it. So it's a great way to it's a great tool in the toolbox, but you don't have to do it daily. Now, if you are doing it daily and you see really good results, then hey, that speaks for itself, right? So much of this is just like trial and error, like find out, like try it and see what the body tells you. Have you ever used beef bones with marrow for stock and able to scoop up the marrow to give separately to baby, or does marrow slide out in stock? So I personally don't boil marrow bones in stock, because I like to eat marrow and I don't want boiled marrow. You totally can. Also, like when it comes to meat stock, you need meat on the bone, and marrow bones, there's no meat on the bones. They're just bones with marrow inside. So I roast my marrow bones and eat the marrow. We're all huge fans of bone marrow in my house and we eat it a lot. Now, if I have a shank and that has a shin bone and there's a little piece of marrow, then yeah, I'm going to use that cut of stock and there's going to be marrow in the soup, or it's going to stay in the bone. I'm going to scoop it out and eat it. Okay, Teresa from the block. Baby has been breastfed and is very gassy and often in pain. He will be starting solids within the next few weeks. Is there anything I can introduce to soothe him? Yeah, I would do, well, first of all, is he showing you signs of readiness? Because you could always start early, but I would work with a probiotic at this point. I would just do smidge probiotic, and I would also work on your diet. I think if you change your diet a little bit and add in a probiotic for yourself, you could probably get a lot of results. Philly G30, how to improve loose stools in a toddler that can't tolerate ferments or dairy. Okay, so I recognize you. I'm not sure if you're in my courses or not, but you got to work on him tolerating ferments and dairy. I mean, that is in and of itself something that's showing you something. So loose stools, he needs more microbial support. Typically, commercial probiotics are less strong than homemade ferments. So I would start there. You need to get him on a probiotic, and you need to build him up on that probiotic until you see some change. And the change might not always be like the best thing, like something else could come out of him is what I'm saying, because it could cause die-off, right? So it could come up in a little rash. His stools, he could alternate, he could get some constipation, hopefully not, but just know that the journey is not always straightforward, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just like, dang, I gave a probiotic and that made everything so much better, right? And that's great. Those are great wins when they happen, because it's just like straightforward and it teaches us a lot. You definitely need to increase probiotics. And then if I were you, I would be doing, like, I don't know what you mean when you say can't tolerate them. I'm curious what that means. Like, he gets a rash, he gets behaviorally weird, like what happens? Because that's also information for you. And so this kind of framework, this kind of thinking through the symptoms, the responses, everything that we put in our body and around our body and in our environment and our mind, that impacts our system, right? So when we have a response to something, we just need to know like what that means. And okay, like weigh out the pros and the cons of it. Like, was it a complete disaster? Was it just like a tiny bit stressful and we got through it and things are ultimately better now? Did things get like wrecked really haywire? Should I try a little bit less of that thing? But for me, like, I mean, the loose stools are a symptom, but not tolerating a fermented food is also a symptom. So I would go addressing that first. Because at least the poop's coming out. It's better to have the poop coming out. And loose stools, I also don't know exactly what you mean by that. But like soft stools are great. And a lot of times when parents start healing their kids, they'll say like, oh, my kid's stools are a little loose. Like, do I need to firm them up? It's like, no way. Like, let all that stuff come out. And if his stools get looser when you add in more healing foods, bravo. Let it happen. That's the thing. That is the really like the clinical expertise that the courses offer and the live support offers. It's that experience, that context, that frame of mind that's like, oh, this is actually a good sign. I didn't realize, I think that's, oh, my aunt's here. Maybe she left already, but hey, Patty. I've done a lot with my son, but I feel like it has something to do with the immune system, and gut doctors do not seem to know. First of all, heck yeah, Yanni ×3. Done a lot with your son, but do you feel like it has something to do something with his immune system? Well, 80% of the immune system lives in the gut. So if you haven't tried a gut rebuilding protocol, like the GAPS nutritional protocol, which is basically what I teach, I would suggest it. And I would love to have you in any of my programs. Do I reintroduce peanut butter if can't had a reaction? Alyssa Johnson. Do I reintroduce peanut butter if... I'm not sure. If you had a reaction initially, then, and you've done healing since then yeah, you can reintroduce it. I think that's what you're trying to say. We started my 10 months old on your plan in 6 months. Is it okay to introduce oats now? I would not. Now, when it comes, why introduce oats? Like what nutritional benefit are they giving to your baby? Nothing. They're not giving anything. They're just boring ass oats. I mean, like oatmeal is like a cute kind of mushy baby food, but like so much better to give meat and liver and eggs. And eggs are the perfect breakfast food. Like they don't need oats. It's not adding fiber. Is that what you're thinking of? if I were to like give Augie, he's never had oats before, but if I were to give Augie oats, I would be like wanting to give him an oatmeal cookie because he's 3.5 years old now, almost 4, you know? Like, I just don't see him like thriving on oatmeal, you know? So I wouldn't. Okay, Francis, perfect. Hi, just had a quick question. My baby girl is 22 months old and she doesn't want to eat anything. She'll snack on some tortillas or crackers, sometimes fruit if I'm lucky, but that's about it. Why? You need to watch my Picky Eaters masterclass. You can comment Picky on any of my reels. It's a 20-minute masterclass and it'll explain exactly why, but you got to stop giving her tortillas and crackers because that's just filler food. It's not helping her gut. It's not helping her brain. You got to not be scared to not give her that because when she stops eating that, she's going to have her real true appetite come back and she's going to want to eat real food. But, you know, microbially, you're going to have to adjust that. And she's only 22 months right now. So it's a good time to intervene and to get her straight on the foods because otherwise, you know, it's just going to multiply on itself and she's going to keep eating only those foods. And it's really interesting, the gut flora connection to our children's cravings. Can I make meat stock in an Instant Pot? Yes, if you want to. You totally can. I forgot to mention my baby likes to eat ice. Yep, you got to warm her system up. She's just, don't let her eat ice. You got to warm up her system, give her meat stock. Don't give her tortillas anymore. Don't give her bread. Don't give her crackers. Those foods are not going to help her development. They're not going to help her brain. Maybe she's on breast milk. I don't know. If she's not on breast milk, she's just surviving on crackers. She can't feel good. She might have a lot of meltdowns, tantrums. If she doesn't, bless her, she's a saint. But she probably does because she has dysregulated blood sugar because she's having like these sugar spikes and she's just kind of like getting by. Appetite suppression, I mean, you just gotta, it's slowly, you just build them up with like actual nutrients that the body needs and it clicks over eventually. Lindsay, I have so many questions. If I purchase the Mom Baby Biome method, will there be a way to ask more in-depth questions with you? So Mom Baby Biome is $150 off right now. When you check out, if you add on the Facebook group and the live calls, it's $33 for 3 months. So it's $99 total. You get 3 months of support for me. You get the Facebook group, and that is the best path. That is what I recommend you do. If you want to have contact with me, you join Mom Baby Biome. You add on the Facebook group, you get questions from me and my practitioners, and included in that is 2 live calls a month where we answer your questions directly. You also get free access to any of the master classes that I teach. Like last month we did the mold masterclass, and everyone in Mom Baby Biome method got access to that class if they're in the Facebook group and the live calls add on. How can you start introducing things so his body starts being immune to it? Right. So you're saying like you want to build a tolerance to foods that are common allergens, I think you say. I have a great reel on that from this week that you can check out. But I definitely teach about that in the First Foods Plan and Mom Baby Biome. So I'm not really like a pro introduce common allergens before the age of 1. I think that building the gut is much better. And then like a lot of those common allergens also do get introduced through my plan. But like I don't prioritize wheat. I don't prioritize soy. I don't prioritize corn. None of those should be introduced while a baby's gut is developing and healing. Once their gut's healed and sealed, once they have a robust, healthy system, then you can give them wheat and there's no problem. They're not going to develop celiacs because they have a really robust microbiome. Weak, leaky guts are why we develop autoimmune disorders against and, intolerances to foods. And by the way, adulterated foods like wheat, soy, those are adulterated foods. We never used to even eat soy. And now people are eating tofu and all this crazy stuff. When soy was originally eaten, it was in a condiment size, fermented for months, right? Years. They fermented soy sauce for years. And then that is what I would say to try for your baby eventually. Not in the first year, but after that. When their baby's strong, when your baby doesn't have constant colds, when your baby doesn't have a skin rash, then you give them some nice properly fermented soy sauce. And they won't react to it because they have a healthy system. And that's really what I want to try to get across. Okay. Yane, how can I start to introduce my toddler to eggs and peanuts that she's allergic to? Gotta heal that gut. That would be Mom Baby Biome. My baby's 5 months old. Should I start introducing anything? I have signs of ready, healthy, conscious mama. Hey, girl. I have a reel on this from this week. Check it out. Answers that. Okay, so First Foods Plan, 48 hours, $100 off, and Mom Baby Biome, $150 off. The courses are complimentary in concept, but the lessons are different. There is a lot of people who are in Mom Baby Biome are also in the First Foods Plan. The courses are, a framework that you can rely on for the immediate healing and also give you a structure to maintain those healthy bodies in your children. And this page is really about empowering yourself to heal your children at home, to stop relying on the steroids, the medications, to stop jumping from diet to diet, from practitioner to practitioner. This is really about healing from the inside out, healing the nervous system, healing the immune system, the gut. I know because I've done it myself, and I'm so glad you're here, and thank you for your thoughtful questions, and tell your friends about this page if you love it. And okay, I see Ashley's question too. I'll just answer that real quick. I purchased your course and I love it, but my baby's 7.5 months old and still won't take stock in any form. She also isn't putting toys in her mouth. At what point is this a concern? So, that's good she's not putting toys in her mouth. We all have different sensory inputs. She just, I wouldn't say that alone is a concern, but if you're seeing other factors that are concerning you, other milestones and things, that would be something to reach out to a practitioner. I do have one-on-ones in my, and I have a group coaching program, which we could go more into depth about your problem. But what I would say first and foremost is have you tried the finger licks? And if you're breastfeeding, drink it yourself and make sure that it's salted enough. So you need to add a good amount of salt so it tastes really good. It should taste so good. Meat stock should be like, oh my God, this is delicious. It should taste so good. So try all those things first, and then you can reach out to me if you're like, something's up, and I can maybe help you assess. Mariah, the meal ideas, tons of those in my courses. Is there a healthful resource for adults with bacterial overgrowth? Yes, Mom and Baby Biome. That's for the whole family. And there's people in there that don't have children yet. She's on amino acid formula. Okay, so Tiffany, yes, the course is perfect for you. I have lessons in there that teach moms how to wean off the formula, which is so helpful for eczema. It's so important. Getting off the formula the eczema is not going to resolve until she's off the formula. I'm everything kefir. Can you mess it up? It makes me nervous. No, you can't mess it up. Okay, Ashley, more information. She's breastfed, and I've tried beef stock and chicken stock, and she wouldn't take either. She's not had any food yet. Oh, girl, you can move on. Give her some liver. Give her some sauerkraut brine. Give her some salt. She's 7 months old, so make sure it's salted. I'm guessing if she hasn't had any other food, then it's not salted. She's breastfed, so make sure you're drinking the stock. It takes a while for babies to catch on. They're used to the sweet breast milk, so it just takes a minute. My daughter had a rash. She started getting it when she was 15 months old. She's almost 2 now, and we've been battling it. What might be the best route to try to help her? Mom and Baby Biome course is perfect for you. It's on sale right now. That's a great course for you, and I would suggest getting in the Facebook group and the live calls as well. Best place to get kefir grains? I like to get mine on Etsy, but you can get them on Facebook groups too. Okay. I love you all. Thank you so much. Just making sure. When you say liver, does it matter which animal? Pork liver is great. Just the healthiest animal you can get. Do you recommend taking grains like millet and sorghum? Get those out. Nope, don't eat those. Help with teething babies. I like chamomilla for teething babies. 14 months, it doesn't eat much other than smoothies, waffles, bread. Okay, don't feed him waffles and bread. He doesn't need waffles and bread. He needs meat and building foods. You're probably new here. A lot of people just joined the party, but we're not bread people over here. You can be eventually, but in a healing phase, when children are refusing foods, we do not give them bread. Do you think grains are okay? No. They're not for healing, right? So grains, they would have been a part of our diet more recently. I'm talking the evolution of humans, and we need to properly prepare them. Like my family's out of a healing phase right now, so I made some buckwheat molasses cookies, sourdoughed them. I made the dough with kefir. It wasn't that good, actually, to be honest. We've had those this Christmas season, But in the realm and the context of a healing protocol, we leave those foods out because they're yeast feeders and they're not building foods. They don't help regenerate the tissue, regenerate the cells, and tune up the organ systems. Like, we're trying to rehabilitate our children, and that might seem like a strong word, but it's so true. If you've ever healed your gut yourself, like I have, you know that is what it takes. It's this gentle, beautiful rehabilitation. You come out the other side so much stronger, so much clearer, so much better, and it's so worth it. And like, you can't really cheat. Like, I know that seems like more extreme, and there are going to be people on Instagram that tell you like, oh, that's so extreme, blah, 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 restriction, blah, blah, blah. It's not restriction. It's disciplined methodologies that are proven, and you go through them using your own intuition, learning through your own body. It's not forever. It's for a period of time, but you need that time in order to really heal, and it's so worth it. Ashley says, my breastfed 10-month-old baby has bad eczema. I introduced carrot juice and meat stock and it got worse. Yeah, no carrot juice right now. That's too sugary. And meat stock, you need meat stock, but you need to go slowly. And you probably need other foods too. I would definitely recommend the First Foods Plan. Having a hard time feeding him to me that doesn't tolerate his thief. La Laura 7, I'm having a hard time feeding him to me that does. I don't know what the first part of your question is. I think there's a typo. Can you thrive off meat stock alone without formula? No, you can't just feed your baby meat stock instead of formula, but you can make a homemade formula that's with a base of meat stock that I teach in their First Foods Plan. And as you're weaning off formula, it's very important that you are building up with nutrient-dense foods, because obviously your baby has nutritional needs. So not just meat stock alone, but there's other foods that can be added in to supplement the meat stock that then make it a suitable replacement for formula. And I teach you exactly how to do that inside the First Foods Plan. How long after reaction to eggs can we retry? How important are yolks? You know how important our yolks are. Yes, Rebecca, awesome. So with the hives, it's interesting. I would go for a quail yolk or a duck yolk, and then I would give it like 2 to 3 weeks with only gut building foods and increasing. Hopefully you can, if you're on kefir, that would be super good. Homemade kefir would be really, really important in this case. And then when you try again, just do like a little bit. And how long do the hives stick around, right? Like, we want to know, is it hives that are leading to throat closing? Because that's very different than hives that like dissipate and, within an hour. Look at that bear. Hi. So yeah, I would give it at least 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. There's a lot of questions still. All right. I have three more. There we go. Okay. Yay, sweet Elise. She's in Mama Baby Biome. I'm having diet reaction. My daughter has a rash alongside me. She's been on meat stock since 6 months and she's 10 months. Can she be reacting to my diet? Yes, she can. She can. So both of you magnesium baths, and you can feel free to slow down, and you can join the Facebook group as well if you want to like give me a picture of the rash. You want to talk details more than just right now. But like, support your liver. So castor oil, if you've done an enema, that would be great. Just help your body like release what's releasing right now. And then you can always pull back a little bit on meat stock and just go for like still healing foods, but not as strong as meat stock. So for example, like chuck roast. It's a roast, it's a building food, it's a protein, it has healthy fats, it's great for you, but it's not as strong as meat stock. And if you're like, no, I love having my meat stock, then just have a little bit less. Just let your body get through this. Bikavas, do your enema, get everything out, get in the magnesium bath, both of you, support her liver, support your liver. You guys are doing great. And like I said, sweet Elise, if you want to join us in the Facebook group, I welcome you. Is it okay to have my son to have my own baked sourdough bread with liver, for example, if we don't have problems? Yeah, of course. I mean, here's the thing. I teach a healing protocol. So if you don't have anything to heal, then you can just use my nutrition tips for fun and for like, expanding your cooking and culinary stuff. If you don't feel like anybody in your family has symptoms and you're all thriving on the sourdough, then yeah, go for it. Right? Like I need to help my son heal. He's like a very strong little boy, very, just had some lingering things that because we had a medicated birth, antibiotics, like I wanted to give him the best shot possible, right? So I healed his gut. We stayed on the gut rebuilding protocol for 2 years, and now he's fantastic. Like he can eat sourdough. He even had a little sugar. He ate rice. Like he goes out for sushi sometimes, So we do have those outer outings and those experiences, but the mainstays of his diet are meat, fermented vegetables, seasonal vegetables, and fruit, because he thrives on that. Oh, Darcy. My family recently moved out of a moldy home. Years of exposure. Everyone's feeling better, but we'll need to rebuild the gut. Would your courses be good for us? Perfect. It would be great for you. And I recently taught a mold masterclass, and it's included in Mama Baby Biome. So this is a great thing for you to also watch, and I would love to have you. I also have experiences with mold. It's crazy because I just had a re-exposure and this whole flare, and it was so frustrating. I'm the only one in my family who really deals with it, although I think my daughter, based on how well she's sleeping here versus at home, I'm traveling at my parents' house, and I'm just like, wow, I think the mold's affecting her too. So that's a whole thing. It's so hard, but yes, this is the best. It's so good. You can do gentle detox, get the mold out of your body. And the main way that I teach detox, which is kind of funny, people don't like really talk about this much, but it's actually through building foods. Like we rebuild with healing, dense, nourishing foods, and the body can detox better. I have an almost 4-year-old and a 20-month-old. Yep, perfect fit for the Mama Baby Biome method. I'm also about to introduce food to my 6-month-old. Would the Mama Baby course help with that too? So for food introductions, you want the first foods plan. That is where you do step-by-step introduction to your baby starting on solids. So when you check out, you can bundle both courses together for an extra discount. And that is what a lot of people do. They were always designed to go together. They work apart, but they're complementary. So Mama Baby Biome and First Foods Plan go together. Daughter's 2.5 years into topical steroid withdrawal. We've been on a strict diet for 2 years as well as gut healing protocol, and nothing has helped. Any advice? Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Yes. So beet kvass, you need to do beet kvass. You need to get to kefir if she's not to kefir, and I'm so sorry. That is just so painful. Topical steroid withdrawal, so I assume the steroids are completely gone now. That's just going to take a lot of liver support. Grounding can be so good for this. So outside time as much as possible, ocean time if you can, if you live near there, all your vacations, make them to the beach. That's going to be so good for her. She really just needs liver support and detox support. So that's why I say the beets, castor oil over the liver, magnesium bath, those kinds of things, and grounding. And I would also look into homeopathy. That's what I would do. I would get a really good homeopathy person and use some homeopathic medicine to clear that, because it's just burdening her liver. All right, last question. Woohoo! Stephlyn. I tried meat stock with my 6-month-old and she colored everywhere a half an hour later. What should I do? I don't know what you mean. She colored everywhere a half an hour later with her 6-month-old. Like her face flushed. That's a healing type of reaction if that's what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking. I don't know. She colored everywhere. I would give less. And I think I need to know more information in order to. Oh, Caroline, you're saying you're planning to purchase the courses to heal the eczema. Great. Whole family. Love it. Husband's involved is awesome. Starting solids with the 6-month-old. Where do you recommend buying meat? I have a sourcing guide in the courses. Yeah, eczema-friendly meals. She drew on the walls. I know. That would totally be... that would be a valid thing for... I was thinking, Stephlyn. Let's see. I know. But only 6 months old, so I don't think she got the crayons out. Anyway, I think what you mean is like probably the face flush. That's a liver sign. Anything that comes up in the skin. Also, like if it went away quickly, that's totally fine. That's just a healing reaction. Just keep supporting her liver. Castor oil in the liver can be really great. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This was a really great live. I am open to questions. The best way to ask me questions is in my comment section. So I always can get to the comments. The DMs get crazy. I don't always see all the DMs. So please don't DM me. Please comment on my reels for a question. And if you want to join my courses, now is a great time because the First Foods Plan is on sale. Mama Baby Biome Method is on sale. And it goes through the 31st. And then later in January, I'll be starting my group coaching program which all of my courses are required in order to be in the group coaching program, because we want you to have that foundational information first. So I have the courses, foundational information in there. Everybody has to know before you work with me and my team one-to-one or in a group coaching. So if you're thinking about that for the future, just start with the courses so that you can get that education, you can get the cooking supplies, the food, all that. We don't want to waste your time in a one-on-one or a group coaching with all that. You get that squared away, and then we can go deeper in the one-on-ones and the group coaching. If you comment waitlist here, you can get my waitlist for my group coaching. If you want any of my courses, link in bio, of course. You can comment Vitality for the Mama Baby Biome. You can comment New Year for the for the First Foods course, and Picky Eater course. You comment Picky. Okay, bye. Thank you, everyone.